let's leave this one on a great question. Who's the GOAT in cricket?
Thank you all for allowing us to continue this journey to 100k and beyond. And because of this, we have a very special video for you today. We asked for some question submissions and you guys came in with over 200 questions. So we're going to answer a few of those today. Also, we've got something very special for the end of this video. So please watch till the end.
Should I use Bourne's International Ultralight Cricket Batting Leg Guards?
If you like what they look like and if you can afford it, the answer is yes. Whatever you are most comfortable with. What should be kept in mind to be a good captain?
There's a few things that I feel you need to have in your arsenal when you want to be a good captain. Number one is knowing each of your players, their strengths, their weaknesses, what they can do in certain game situations, and also what switches them on in a game. Next, you need to be well versed in your fielding positions, game plans, and how you want to execute towards those game plans. Also staying calm. As a captain, it's always important to stay calm. Once you start losing composure on the field, that filters over to your players, and then ultimately you start losing control of the game. Anything else from your side that you can think of, B?
Just when it comes to the game plans, it's important to know that just as important as it is to have fielders in certain places, the gaps you leave available to the batters are also going to be important to control how you want to go about your bowling spell.
How should I play in trials, which are happening on turf, if it's the first time that I've ever batted on turf?
I think it's important to understand that the differences between a turf wicket and a concrete wicket are that a turf wicket generally won't bounce as much. On top of that, it's also going to play a little bit slower and there's going to be more turn. So it's important to know that you can probably push forward a little bit more onto your front foot, making sure that you negate any movement that it might get off of the turf itself, so you can negate that and looking to play nice and straight, because if the ball stays low you've got more chance of hitting it with the full face of the bat. At the same time, knowing that if you're going over the top, you really have to make sure that you hit it while over the top, because anything that can be considered close to being out would be a negative against you. But at the same time, if you can really hit it well and hit it over the top, you can get some heads turning and get the coaches / the selectors having a good look at you and knowing that there's some X factor. But the important thing is to stay true to your strengths and do as many of those as possible and stay true to yourself throughout. I don't know if there's anything else from you,
No,
Zen.
I think you've covered it perfectly.
If we pay you to come to Australia and teach an academy of gun cricketers, would you do it?
Few things. Do we like traveling? Yes. Do we like making money doing the thing we love? Yes. Are the cricketers gun and it's going to be fun to work with them? Yes. The answer is 100% yes. How do we improve on a daily basis when it comes to being a cricket player?
So basically there was this professor, right?
Yes.
And he was teaching a pottery class. And the one half of the class, he split the class in half. The one half of the class got told you need to make the best quality pot possible.
Yes.
But you're only allowed to make one pot.
Okay.
The pot that is the best quality will get the highest grade.
Yes.
Then the other half of the class, he said,
as many pots as possible.
just make as many pots as you can. The people with the most pots get the highest marks.
And I'm guessing the people that made a lot of pots are the people that won, just because they had all that practice.
So the people that made the most pots actually came out with better quality pots in the end than people that were making one pot. Because people making one pot were reading up on it and all of those things, like the techniques, and but they weren't actively practicing it.
They're not physically applying.
So when they got to it, they just knew how to make the one pot. Where the guys that were making a ton of pots, just churning out pot after pot, found better ways to do it, found ways within themselves that made it better. And because they found ways to do it better and in easier time through the practice they did, they started making better quality pots.
So in essence, learning through practice.
So obviously, how I'd put it is quality practice makes perfect, but sometimes you're not fortunate enough to have that quality practice. At the end of the day, practice, as long as you learn from every practice, and quantity of practice is still going to get you close to your goal than just reading up on it and not actually actively doing the skills that you'd like. Any chance to do a cricket coaching course through you?
At the moment, no, just because it's a lot of work and we don't really have time to set up a course of that magnitude. But if you do want to have a few sessions with us, we can do online sessions. It's available, it's on our website, so go check it out, and then we can have a chat online, hour or two, and answer any questions you might have in regards to coaching or playing. Byron.
Yo.
Do you recommend a trigger movement for a young player?
It's a really tough one, actually, because it does depend on the player. But what I have noticed in the past is, specifically with some younger cricketers, is trigger movement causes some extra problems that you don't always think about, where the head falls over and the balance is shifting out of it and they don't retransfer forward. But if you can get the points of a trigger movement across early, making sure that the trigger is early enough and that your eyes are still at the point of delivery.
It's consistent and repeatable.
Consistent, repeatable, do it with shadow batting, with normal batting in the net, and then just really driving it home that it becomes natural. Then anyone can use a trigger. Because it is specifically used for people that struggle to move, that feel a bit static in the crease. So if you can get that early on and the player does better with it, then yes. But I believe with younger cricketers, it's a lot of trial and error until you find what they're comfortable and what's best for them.
I think in general, the younger you are, the more difficult it is to control what your body's doing and do it consistently and repeatably, and it's difficult for young players.
No, agreed. Zendon, should we track ourselves and how to write a sports journal?
Sorry, what?
Should we track ourselves and how to write a sports journal?
I don't know. In all honesty, it's not a question I can answer. I personally don't do it, but I know there are people that like that analytical way of measuring themselves against what they did in the past. For me, I'm a more feel-based cricketer. So if I feel something's working, I'll just try and replicate that feeling until it's part of my game. So I think that's very player dependent, and if it works for you, do it.
But if you do want to do it, I think the best way to do it is you need to be consistent with it. So if there's any practice, any game, after the practice, after the game, you're writing down what you felt in the session, anything you may have worked on, quantities, the quality of the session, just so that you know certain things that get you into the right frame of mind to play the game well. And then you know when you get into a match, because you did this in practice, if you do it before a match, it gets you into the right frame of mind, the right space, the right mental space to play, and then it becomes a routine. And I think cricketers are routine based naturally.
Actually, based on this whole thing that you just said, I think in terms of not necessarily keeping a journal, but making sure you've written down your game plan is a really good thing for a cricketer. That's something I do. I know it's something Byron does, and most really high quality batsmen do this. It just keeps you accountable. You know what you're working towards, you know what you want to do at each stage of your innings, with some variance if needed. So if you do want to see how to create your own batting game plan, we'll link that video in the description below. Byron,
no.
How do you bowl 90 kilometers per hour?
With a bent arm.
With a bent arm. Okay, no.
You throw your bounces, guys. It's only illegal if you get caught.
What do you have to do to hit the gaps consistently? As when I bat, I often find the fielders.
There's a couple of things, and I think the first and the easiest way to potentially help you overcome this problem or this issue is when you're looking at the field. Because you have a look around, you see where the fielders are. It's important to not look at the fielders themselves. It's important to look at the gaps or a place beyond the gaps to where you're hitting, because then all of a sudden your body's trained to hit where you've been looking. And if I'm looking at cover, I know there's a cover, I'm going to hit towards cover. But if I'm looking at the gap between cover on either side, all of a sudden the ball comes, my hands are naturally going to go to where I was looking, and that's going to create the space there. But some guys aren't good at looking at gaps, so then you need to find a point of reference beyond the gap that you can keep looking at.
Also beyond the boundary, because it narrows your margin for error.
It narrows your margin for error, but at the same time, it's showing you where you want to hit the ball.
Yeah.
So you know the power that you're going to want to impart to hit the ball there.
Yeah.
Another thing is in training to put yourself under pressure. When you're in a net situation, the fielders are super fielders, they move really well. So you make a margin for error smaller there, and you're making sure your contact points to get a square is a bit later, to get more in front is slightly earlier, and you keep training both, because you never know what might happen on a day. Just because conventional fields are a thing doesn't mean when you come up against opposition teams, the fielders are going to be where they're meant to be. What should be the mindset while batting in a match?
Always look to score, always be positive. So you go through your checklist, we always look to hit the boundary off of every ball. If you can't do that, you look to hit a 2 or hit the gap hard. If you can't do that, you look to rotate strike. If that's not a possibility, you look to leave. And finally, if you can't leave, that's when we look to defend. The reason leave is before defense is because if you are defending a ball you could have left, there's always a chance of nicking off. Where if you leave, you know you're going to be safe in that situation. So always going with good positive movement, positive mindset, look to score off of every single ball, and then adjust from there.
I think it's also important to try and remain calm. Understand that you've still got time to achieve whatever you need to achieve. As soon as we get tense, we struggle to swing fluidly through the ball, and the fluentness of our game goes away. So try and stay calm and understand that in general, there's more time than what you think. How do I stop playing sweeps and scoops to seamers and start playing drives, cuts, etc.? You just stop.
Do it. Just do it.
Do it! Just do it!
Okay, we're gonna do some rapid fire, quick questions. Firstly, Byron, how to face 180 kilometers per hour?
180?
180.
No.
No. Are we going to do a giveaway soon?
Potentially.
We don't know. Who's the best batter by technique at the moment?
Kane Williamson.
I think Kane Williamson, Joe Root, Baba Azam, Virat Kohli. There's so many really great batters. And finally, let's leave this one on a great question. Who's the GOAT in cricket?
Nathan Lyon.
No, don't do a cop-out response. Like, Nathan Lyon's an exceptional bowler, but when we talk about the GOAT in cricket, in my mind there's only one, and that would be Jock Ellis, just for the fact that he's got pretty much similar batting stats in terms of averages as Sachin Tendulkar, and then similar bowling stats in terms of averages as Zaid Khan. Imagine having both those play in one available on the field.
And then a literal ton of catches at slip as well.
Probably one of the best slip fielders to ever grace the field.
If you have hands that big, you shouldn't be dropping anything.
Yeah. So B, I know you haven't seen this yet. I obviously have, because it got delivered to my house. But congratulations, friend.
Thank you, friend.
It's been a journey. So let's quickly have a look and see what...
What if I drop it?
Please don't. This is like a rite of passage for every person that enjoys... Young YouTuber. Or influencer, as they might say.
Do you remember your first subscriber? Your 100th? Or your 1000th? Your 1000th? Yo, is that even a word these days? Subscriber. Chances are you do. And we know that you'll definitely remember your 100,000th. Your language subscriber. Your fans may have found you while searching YouTube, learned about you through a friend, or maybe you showed up as a recommended video. No matter how they came to your channel, fans stayed and their numbers increased because of your unique voice, yeah they did, and the excitement of being part of the growing community that you established. We are thrilled to see the development of your community and are proud to honor your impressive milestone of reaching 100,000 subscribers with the Silver Creator Award. Congratulations. We know that you have many more stories to share with your community, and we know that your fans can't wait for you to engage and amaze them even more with your commitment and creativity. So keep creating, keep building. We can't wait to see what you'll do next, and we are here to support you along the way. And who knows, when we reach your 1,000,000th subscriber, we may just write to you and ask, do you remember your 100,000th subscriber? Yours sincerely, CEO of YouTube. Thank you, Rick. He's the one who packaged it.
Thank you, Rick.
Friend, that is
beautiful. Unfortunately, the sun is chowing it, so let's do a bit of a swap. Oh, there we go. Look at that.
Look at that.
I'm going to take it out of the plastic and have a proper look.
Present it to Coach Crick. Oh, look at that.
Finally got it, bud.
Yeah, CoachCricXI. Well, as your cousin would say, CoachCricXI.
CoachCricXI.